And we're live
Again.
again. People tried to, you lovely people tried to watch the stream that we did yesterday, only to find that it no longer existed because I created this one. And hopefully this one will actually go for at least an hour.
Yeah, we had 15 good solid minutes yesterday.
We had 15 good solid minutes.
What happened was the bad guy won and kicked us off the internet. If you ever watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, there's like an evil bunny rabbit, and he was nipping at our toes. I didn't mind having clipped my toenails in a minute, so the rabbit actually helped. But it attacked Sako's car, and they had to go get that fixed. And there was an emergency. You know, the vets were involved. PETA was protesting. It was crazy. It was ridiculous shit that was happening.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Exactly what happened. Neighbor tried to go borrow eggs from us, and it was just terrible. It didn't work out at all. My buddy asked me to go golfing with him. I said no. And
yeah.
I was being goofy, but now we're making references to the movie that we're doing. Since we're essentially you have to give us a little bit, because we're not starting over, but we have to start over. We have to act like this is the first time we've covered this. We are covering the movie Funny Games because I thought it was a fun idea to traumatize Sako.
And traumatize me it did.
What else am I supposed to do over the weekend, right? Like hang out with people, go to the club? No, I traumatized my co-host because me.
It's fun and easy.
No comment. So we are covering Funny Games as a result of us covering the topic of When the Bad Guy Wins. This is my favorite When the Bad Guy Wins movie because it's just so dark. But everything's literally so bright. Like stuff happens in the daytime. Everything is white. Everything is literally bright. However, it's so dark. It's so great.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, me too. Me too. I forgot what I was going to say, but we have a scoring system that we are going to 4-star scoring system that we're going to run this through. And those categories are the theme, production, writing, and characterization. Within those categories, there are kind of subcategories, and those subcategories kind of help us determine as to whether it should get a star or not.
Totally will. It totally will, because this movie's great.
Let's see. Okay, I'll be right back. I need to close my door.
This is horror movie ASMR, where we talk very softly about this not very kind movie. Movie's great. Okay, I'm done being goofy. The movie is actually fantastic. You'll hear why I think it's fantastic as we go through all the categories and such, but all joking aside, I always love this movie. I've seen it so many times, and I literally I started that's such a shame. I started yesterday's podcast off with a question. I feel like I have to run this back.
Okay.
So I started yesterday's version of this with, "Hey, Sako, now that you've seen this movie, how willing are you to loan eggs to your neighbor?"
I'm not.
Never again. I will never loan eggs to my neighbor. And if you watch this movie and you want to loan eggs to your neighbor, you either really love your neighbor, probably more than your husband thinks, and you're psychotic and like maybe not the greatest of ways. Who knows? I'm not judging. I'm not judging, but
There's so much I could say, but I'm gonna wait until later. Um,
yesterday we did agree to save the remote scene for writing. There was a writing choice, so we're going to wait till writing.
It's a writing choice.
So let's get into theme and run this.
Okay, so theme. First, we have message. We have just stated the message, never give the neighbor eggs.
Never allow any lay eggs ever again in your life. Butter,
Nope.
sure. Milk, fine. Sugar, we're good. Never eggs.
Never eggs.
Never eggs. You can loan them tools. You can loan them Dr. Pepper. You won't want to because you keep that for yourself. Never eggs.
Never eggs. The tone and the mood. I loved the shift in tone in just the 4 minutes.
The opening 4.
Yes.
The car scene.
The car scene. The silence, the dead silence, and then the opera, and then the death metal, and I thought it was really well done.
So to clarify, this opening scene it's a family. It's mom, dad, son, and they're going to their vacation home, and they are listening to classical sort of operatic music, and they are doing like a name that tune kind of thing in the car. This kind of gives you an idea of who we're dealing with character-wise. This is a very good show don't tell kind of character thing. And while we're listening to this, there's a point where they're like, everything's so happy and fantastic. And then it like just cuts to death metal music while everyone still has the visage of happy listening to operatic music. So you can tell that they can't hear the death metal, but you do. And it gives a shift in tone, especially since they're not reacting in a way that appears as if they're listening to metal music. Because we're both rock fans, we're both metal fans.
Yeah, they're just smiling in the car, smiling at each other, smiling out the window, and just like blasting.
I know who it is, but like the weirdest thing to see, actually maybe tied for first weirdest thing you can see as far as a reaction to metal music. I think it'd be tied at first with the rowing thing that they do now at festivals. Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know about the rowing? That's a new thing. It's only been around for like a few years, but it's great. It's weird.
Yeah.
Just
it's been a little longer than that in the metal community, but
I've only seen it maybe. Let's see. I was going to. Ooh, that might be longer than I thought. Ooh, maybe like 10 years. Now I'm thinking about it.
More like 10 years.
About 10 years. It's complete side note for just a moment. If you ever go to a rock festival, instead of with certain bands and certain songs, instead of doing like a mosh pit, they'll all just drop to the floor, get in rows. They're organize themselves blindly, and then just start to row. Just row. And it's the craziest thing to watch people do.
It makes sense for bands like Ailstorm or Twilight Force or like a campy band. But like to Metallica, I don't know.
No, you wouldn't do it to classic rock. Which sadly Metallica. I know.
Whack.
When Metallica becomes one of those legacy headliners, I hurt myself. I stabbed myself with like 30 years. Anyway,
what do you think of the tone and the mood of the movie in general? Like you mentioned, super bright, but super dark.
It's one of these horror movies that goes against the typical. Your average horror movie takes place at night. It takes place in dark alleys. It takes place in grimy basements. There is a sense of dark, hidden shadows that makes a scary environment. We've talked about on the show where these are the settings, because when you're in the dark, there is the unknown, and that is ultimately what fear is. Fear is the unknown. And there's something about a horror movie that takes place in the daytime. When it takes place in the day or in a very brightly lit room, there's nothing seemingly to fear because you can see everything. You observe everything. There's nothing hidden. There's nowhere to hide. So it doesn't seem like there's anything that can be scary. But what this movie does is it makes you regret trust. And it shows you the value of trust. And particularly with this movie, how certain social status gives you a false sense of trust. Because mind you, what we've established with the vacation home and like Martha's Vineyard or whatever it was, and these very elite areas of town, and this, we listen to opera music and we do name that tune with with classical musicians and whatever, and when you give that kind of portrayal, as we did earlier in the movie, as this is setting up, you have this sense of, oh, they're like us, so they must be the good breed, right? These are the good ones. These are the nice folk. This is the safe part of town. Bad things don't happen here. And that is such an unspoken violation that's utilized in horror movies, is this sort of trust that comes with wealth and status, and how quickly and easily that can be violated. Because when you think you're safe because of your status, the criminals know that you think you're safe because of your status. Your walls come down, and then you just basically open the door. Literally what this family does is they open their door to the evil.
Yep.
They let the evil in. They loan it eggs. There's a reason for eggs. There's a whole reason we keep talking about eggs. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Well, we can talk about the backstory. Which
you had some good notes in the backstory, some good trivia.
Okay, so I have some good trivia. For one, we watched the UK version from 2007. Mm-hmm. There is the original, which is
Swedish.
I forget.
I think it's Swedish or Danish.
Mm-hmm. And it's a shot-for-shot remake, and I think, and done in English, and with like American, except for Tim Roth. I think Tim Roth is British.
I think Naomi Watts is British. Is she?
I don't know. To the internet.
You can carry on with your. I got you.
Okay. Tim Roth has said that making this film traumatized him, and he'll never watch it. He said he was particularly disturbed because Devin Gearhart resembled his own son. So Devin Gearhart was the kid who played the son, and I'll talk about him a lot more in characterization. But
she is British, by the way.
Okay. This is also the second time that Michael Pitt has played a character inspired by the real-life murder committed by Leopold and Loeb in 1924. The other role was the character Justin Pendleton in Murder by Numbers.
I still haven't seen that, so I have to watch this.
So I guess we'll have to watch it because it has our favorite psychopath. Does it deserve a star for the theme?
I think it does. I didn't really go into this yesterday, but sort of in reflection. There is something to be said about
What could happen?
so much
You know.
more like the unique tropes in horror. And I think a violation, like the trust, you can almost say that any horror movie has a violation of trust at some point. The mom did it, the boyfriend did it. I talk about Scream. We just watched Scream 6. In Scream 2022, the boyfriend did it. The best friend did it. In the original, the boyfriend did it. All these trusted friends, and they utilize that trust against them. But when that's like an overall theme of you are in this situation because you mistook status for safety, I think that's a valid trope that doesn't get as explored as it probably could, and I like that unique aspect or semi-rare aspect of it. I would definitely give it a theme point star.
I think it has a very important lesson in it, and that is at least worth noting. Like, that violation of trust, especially in such a nice neighborhood.
And that's what gets you. That's what gets you. Like, we have to stop looking at society like, ooh, nice neighborhoods, ooh, bad part of town. Because I'm telling you, one, criminals live everywhere and they do travel.
Yep. I say give it a star. Yeah.
So that is 1 star for theme. And now we move on to production.
Production.
We changed the order of this, so
we did.
Make sure.
Art direction. I found that it was super upsetting. I loved the scene where we hear the gunshot, we hear the struggle, but the main dude is in the
fridge
kitchen. Yeah.
Look at they getting stuff for a sandwich?
He was making himself something. Yeah.
Yeah. And that just showed you how psychotic this dude really is. He's because this is right after the decision, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I'll talk about it now. So there's a scene where I think the father or the mother had to make the decision. Or did they play a game for this one?
The prayer game, or the main game?
No, the overall game. No, not that game. The individual game where the reason why I think the kid got shot in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the kid gets shot in the scene. Remember, we're reviewing this movie because the bad guy wins. Don't be surprised of anything.
Yeah, there's dead animals. There's dead kids.
No, it's not so graphic. We don't see the kid shot. We don't see the dog dies. We don't see the dog die. We don't see they're tasteful, as tasteful as these kind of things can be. But they still happen. Nonetheless, it's one of these games. Someone's being shot in the other room, and homie is just making a sandwich. He's just making a sandwich, man. That is just he's pulling things out of the refrigerator. You hear the gunshot, and then he's like, yeah, so mustard and mayonnaise, this. And it's just it's so nothing to him. life means nothing to him. Like, psychopath doesn't even cut it.
Mm-hmm.
Just bloody mental. It's fantastic.
So, as far as art direction, I thought like the injuries and deaths are never really seen, but they're heard.
Yeah. And that's a really great choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always love the world's funniest joke. I talk about the world's funniest joke all the time. The world's funniest joke is a joke that you kind of set up and then you let the listener kind of finish for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you set it up right, then whatever's going on in my kitchen, if you set it up right, then the person will fill in your punchline with the funniest thing they can think of. Right? And that creates the world's funniest joke because to them, it's the funniest answer they could think of giving your prompt. And I feel like this is the same kind of thing. Let the audience fill in the blank for you. I don't need to see what the kid looks like. I don't need to actually see it. I can visualize it. And if I visualize it with the most horrible thing I can picture,
Mm-hmm.
congratulations, I've now associated that horrible image with your movie. And that could work for you, that could work against you, but I'm already watching the movie, so there it is. I mean,
There.
I'm walking into this knowing what I'm watching, what I'm getting, so
Mm-hmm.
it's what we asked for. So
I don't think. I mean, like the makeup was pretty good.
yeah, everyone seemed pretty.
Like there was the evolution of damage over time.
Yeah.
Like the spreading of the knee when Tim Roth gets hit, which is basically the inciting incident.
This is what happens right at the end of the egg scene, which we're going to get into very specifically once we get into writing. Just hang in there. What I enjoy is the light to dark shift. We've already kind of talked about how white things appear. They appear clean. They appear pristine. And it goes from like the light colored paints to the white outfits, the bright daylight. And then, of course, as time is passing, it gets darker outside. As it gets darker outside, it's darker inside. And that's not just the amount of light coming through the window. That's how depraved things get over time. It literally gets darker as we continue through this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to the point where we're at the end. And we'll save that how it ends exactly for writing. But just when you think that visually things are cueing resolution, as we were reminding you, this is when the bad guy wins. So no, there is no resolution, not a positive one. And further actions are set in motion. And again, once we get to the story, this will all make more sense. But visually, it tells the same story that the writers were telling. And I think this was very, very well done. The train agrees.
Cinematography. It was almost shot in real time once the clock started ticking, which was a choice. And then, because they skipped over a few things in the beginning, like when they give him the splint for his knee, like they didn't show that. He just suddenly had a splint.
Because things are officially being set up.
Mm-hmm.
And the game pieces were being positioned. We're putting all the pieces on go. We're dealing the money out from the banker. We're about ready to play the game.
Mm-hmm. So, any other production notes or comments?
There are a few times when, I mean, I love the cinematography of this movie. You got the closed car scene as we're opening the movie. We get the wide angles seeing of the neighborhood. So again, we're setting tone throughout this whole opening. Like from the time that we see them driving to the time they get to the house, we're setting the tone. We're telling the story about the characters without the characters doing a damn thing. And that's fantastic. And that all has to do with that all important B-roll that's being taken. It's the other shots that don't include the actors that are doing so much work in this opening. Moving on, you get to the part where like I think the mom escapes at some point and she's running down the street. And it always seems weird to me to see when the character is running down the street escaping from something. They're always center of the road, running in the middle of the street. And I guess it's so they can be seen by everybody just as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I always find that funny, but it's always a great opportunity to do some fantastic things with lighting and the utilization of darkness, like the intentional use of darkness. You're a photographer, and you know how important it is to utilize light. We're in front of cameras. I have my overhead light. I have a lamp right here facing the wall to give me this reflective light that's a little bit softer on my face so that I'm not so dark. Hold on, that's the difference.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of what we do intentionally is adding light. So I love when camera operators and cinematographers are utilizing darkness for these same great purposes. In horror, we have to learn to utilize darkness. And we weren't hiding anything in the darkness, but it was one of those, here is our center focus. Here's our antagonist coming. We see it approaching, and it's just so well done. It's great camera work, great use of lighting, great use of color. So much is just innocuous in the background. It's the choice
Uncle
to use
Fred
NASCAR.
Is acting weird. Yeah.
The use of like NASCAR in the remote scene. Because it's just one of those things where it's just like you're just mindlessly watching cars go around in left turns, and this is you don't think too much about it. It's just like, all right, this is the 248th time they've turned left. Here we go. And then something crazy is happening, and it just lets it play. There's like blood on the TV while cars are just spinning in circles. It's just, it tells so much in story. There's so much story being told in the scenes where there are no actors. And that is cinematography work. That is director of photography work. That is great direction.
Art direction. Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff that anyone out here who's watching, who's making films or wants to make films, these are things you need to make sure are done. Always make sure they're done. Make sure your DP and the director are on the same page, and you're going to get magic. But it's these little things that make so much difference. I'm absolutely going to give it a star for production.
Okay, me too. Writing.
Here we go.
Do you want to go first?
Of course I do. So first and foremost, there's the brief rundown of what this movie is about. Why we keep talking about eggs. I'll go into that here in a second. So what we have here is mother, father, son, and they're going to their vacation home. As they approach, they are introduced to their neighbors who are home. They have a couple new friends. Two young dudes who are just dressed in white golf gear, like white polos, white shorts, or black shorts maybe. And they're just got their little golf gloves. They're just cousins, nephews, whatever excuses it was. And the family's doing their thing. Everyone's cool. They're waiting for their fantastic vacation time. And then there's a knock on the door. And the knock on the door is those kind little gentlemen that they met earlier at the gate. And they say that
when Uncle Fred is acting weird.
Next door, the guy next door. So the knock on the door, they're like, hey, the neighbor wanted me to come over and ask you if she could borrow 4 eggs. And they're like, I mean, okay. Yeah, sure. 4x is cool, cool. And so then, now mind you, these two dudes show up and they're just like, whatever, it's cool, whatever's clever. And they loan the 4x. They go to walk away. The kid says that he was startled. The young man said he was startled by the dog.
Oh,
And
that was the second time.
right, I'm going into the egg thing. I know we've talked about it in references. I'm basically telling the egg thing.
Okay.
So they're startled. They drop the eggs. So now they're cleaning up eggs. Which, if you've ever dropped eggs on the floor, it's one of the most annoying things to do. Is clean up fucking eggs. It's annoying as shit. Anyway, so they're like, well, can we get those eggs now? It's like, well, I just gave you the eggs. It's like, yeah, but they fell because your dog scared us. Can we get more eggs now? Okay, but we were planning on having breakfast tomorrow. It's like, yeah, you're right. You're having company for breakfast, and that's cool and all. But at the same time, you said you're going to the store, so it's no big deal, right? You'll be able to go to the store. You get eggs, right? So 4 more eggs, they're out, right? Now, mind you, there's a dozen, 8 eggs down. Something happens to those eggs, and they're like, we still need eggs. And they're like, listen, these are the last bit of our eggs. You're like, you're right, but you're going to the store, remember? So go ahead and you'll just buy new eggs anyway. It's fine. You don't mind. You don't need these. So you can just give me the eggs, right? So when there's a confrontation about the eggs, now it's just like, okay, cool. Now you basically set up that these people will do whatever we want you to, and this starts to set the tone. There's a point where they're like, oh my god, these brand new golf clubs. Can I try them? They try out the golf clubs and then club dad the knee because wife wasn't feeling comfortable because of all the egg stuff. And then the guy was just like, they're just being kids. It's just guys. It's fine. It's cool. It's great standing.
And then they threaten the father.
Yeah. And then they like club him in the knee. And then shit goes dark. We come back. Everyone's set up, and now we're setting up for the game. The game is basically this. The family has 12 hours to live. If they can live for 12 hours, it's 9 p.m. now, so they can stay alive till 9 a.m., they'll be let go. Free and clear. If they survive. They don't survive. The following is a series of torturing games and events, and it's messy. It's torturous. They're outnumbered, but they've got them by the scruples. They've already crippled the father, and they've terrorized and humiliated the mother. They're scaring the shit out of the son. There is, if you're sensitive to just about anything, this is probably not the movie for you. You're probably best just watching Sako and the Moon and having us watch it for you and tell you about it. Because it's a lot. It's whew. And this leads to the remote control scene. Do you want to talk about the remote control scene? No?
Go for it.
So the remote control scene is a scene where they're cleaning a shotgun or they're prepping a shotgun, and the mom reaches down, grabs the shotgun, shoots one of the guys. I think Peter. Shoots Peter. Peter's shot with a shotgun straight to the chest, dead. Other dude, forget his name, just
Paul.
Freaks out. Paul, that's right, yeah. Mm-hmm. Freaks out. He's scrambling through the living room for the TV remote. He grabs the remote control and then hits rewind. And then the scene itself just rewinds to right before the gun. And since he knows it's coming now, when the mom goes to reach for the gun again, he stops her. And then the movie carries on. And the reason why we waited until the writing section to discuss that part, because it's very, very interesting to do. Very rarely do you rewind the movies real time in order to tell a story of some sort. And I found that was a really interesting writing choice. What do you think?
It was an interesting choice. There was lots of.
Did it take you out the movie?
No. Which was I felt like it was, as far as pacing, like it was kind of a slow burn, but it was still watchable. Like it was, like I found myself scrubbing through the movie a little bit and then going back to where I was. And
kind of being like, how much more of this? Okay, it's not that much. We'll go back and just watch it.
yeah.
And I can see where you'd want to do that because it is a slow burn. There is sort of this, and I think this is a really good pacing choice. This is because you want to feel the agony and the despair on this family. You know that 12 hours is a long time, but when your family is being tortured in front of you, 12 seconds is a long time. Imagine, just for the sake of example, and I'll keep it as tame as possible. This is a horror podcast, so like it's not gonna be that tame. But imagine if you had someone you love, your spouse, your child, and someone is holding a gun to their head, right? 12 seconds is a lifetime. And these people are being tortured for about 12 hours. So to do the little things that they're doing and stretching things out as much as possible really draws in that suspense.
Dread.
It's like, imagine taking your thumb to a wound and just like that into the wound. Like it just hurts and you know it's going to hurt. So that hurts first. Then there's contact and it's the slow dig into the wound. That's even more. Like all of this is to draw out that emotion. There's dialogue that does it. There's the setup of the games. There's the complete unemotional response to things between Peter and Paul. There is the language used between Peter and Paul and the mom and dad. There is the trying to win over the son, and all of this is done in the writing and the dialogue. All of this sets it up.
The dialogue was so polite.
Mind you, it is the British remake. And
yeah.
That is how they are.
Very polite. On all parts. Like,
and that's what makes Peter and Paul so frightening.
Scary?
It's like not only did they use their sort of posh politeness to win them over to gain their trust, but they also maintained it throughout all the torture.
Yep.
And it's something about someone sounding so nice, being so mean, that creates that a dreadful juxtaposition. Because you expect the killer to be maniacal, you expect him to be rude and mean and torturous and maybe foul-mouthed and obscene. Even there's a scene where he's making the mom undress. And I'm purposely not discussing that in too much detail. But there is a scene where he makes the mom undress. And even that is polite in the most impolite, improper way. Because you see what's being done. She does not get assaulted. Not in that way. That's not what that scene is.
Yeah.
Just felt I needed to clarify that for that.
But she's scared to death.
Right, because she doesn't know what's about to happen. And they're basically just humiliating her and degrading her. That's all. So yeah, she doesn't get, nothing like that happens. But he's still so nice about it. And I almost feel inappropriate to use the word nice, but he's
polite.
He is polite, and his language is nice. His demeanor is nice, even as he's asking for such bad behavior and he's doing such a torturous thing. And that's the juxtaposition of these two as villains that really shifts things. their posture is polite. I mean, I catch myself doing similar postures just in proper company or in certain spaces that warrant, good body language. Like, it's so off-putting. It's so off-putting.
Well put. And that pretty much sums up the dialogue, the plot, the pacing. So definitely a star.
I mean, you can't
As
not.
far as the writing.
It's one of those movies that in its bones, it's so offensive because again, it takes advantage of good people's trust, right? And there's nothing bad about the couple. They're not like secretly smuggling children in the whatever. They're just an affluent couple with their kid doing affluent people things.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates this sense of trust and is so easily violated. It also kind of shows how if you act a certain way, put on a certain face, use certain language, certain people will trust you blindly, even when they probably shouldn't.
Yep.
That's how you like blend in and trick people. It's just you don't even need
like how did Dahmer get those guys into his apartment in the first place, right?
You just wine them and dine them.
Wine them and dine them.
Wine them, dine them, then dine on them.
Pretty much. Okay. That was good. So definitely a star from me.
Star for me. Like for me telling that joke, and then a star for writing. It's 2 stars.
Uh-huh. All right, so the casting. One, it's a full star cast. When Naomi Watts is the mother, Anne, and then let me think. Tim Roth is the father. I can't remember the name of the character.
I remember there's like mom, dad, and son. So like,
I've
seen it so many times I forget their names, but it's like it's the mom, dad, and son.
Mom, dad, and son. Okay.
Which, by the way, let me just throw this out there real quick, not to throw you off, but when you're writing a story and you're writing like a movie, this is a really good example of how to keep shit simple. Don't overcomplicate things. If you don't need a family with 3 kids, all boys or mixing it with boys, if you don't need that for some very particular part of the plot, keep it simple. It's a mom, a dad, and a son. And regardless of how you live your life, you can relate to, okay, it's mom, dad, and son. And you can just easily format your brain to like, this is what their family looks like. It's simple. It's clean cut. Done. There's no crazy highfalutin things to remember for the audience to do. This is a great way of keeping your story simple. As few characters as necessary. Extra people, you don't necessarily need that. Those are just extra people on stage. Those are extra people on set. Those are extra lines that might muddy the story. If it's not necessary for your story, don't. You can have a big cast. You can have a group of 8 friends. Sure. You can have a class of 20 if you really need to. But does it have to be 20? Does it have to be 20? If it starts off at 20, can you eliminate half of them through the inciting event? So these kind of things that as writers, we need to take in consideration, because one thing that takes me out of fantasy, for example, is learning a whole bunch of different people's names and trying to keep that straight as I'm progressing through a story. So just throwing that writing tip while we're out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is what we do here.
It is what we do here. A little writing tip from the moon during our movie review, like that this is a little gem
This is what you
So
get from Sako and the Moon on Fridays. So watch all the stuff we put on. This is why you go ahead and hit the like and subscribe, and you hit the little notification bell so that whenever we're giving out great writing advice, whether it's the loud noises in my kitchen or the movie reviews or the regular podcast, you'll be there for it.
indeed. Okay, so casting. That was one smart, emotive kid.
Yeah.
Devin Gearhart or whatever it was.
Did you felt all the scared kid out of that scared kid?
Yes. Not just the scared kid, but
I love a good actor.
The determined kid. He was
leave my dad alone.
Not just that. He was smart. He was smart in that he ran to the neighbor's house for help, only to find that, they
got first.
They got first.
And that's when you kind of start putting you start piecing things together, that their plan is so easy. I left this out of writing, and I probably should have mentioned it. What you learn is that these two spend a day with the family. They interact with the neighbor for identification purposes, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know me, I'm so-and-so to them. And then that's how they get in to the next family. They've been killed, and now they're on to you. So once they're done with this family, the movie ends with them moving on to the next family. It's like, hey, we were here with the so-and-sos. Remember they were talking? Yeah, they mentioned, yeah, exactly. I'm them. So we need help with the so-and-sos. Can you help us? And now they're in the house. That's all it is. They asked to borrow some eggs, and here we are.
End of movie. Yeah.
And this is why you don't loan anybody eggs anymore, because there's just a plot to murder your entire family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, maybe it's a cake, but probably a plot to kill your family, or a cake. I'm not sure whichever one.
Okay. The consistency and evolution. 12 hours to kill the family. The boys won. The slow burn once the boys are like, okay, we're gonna leave you alone for a few hours, and they bug off and leave the family in disarray. They try to pull it together, and the evolution of that whole scene, right, was profound. And she ends up getting caught anyway.
Yeah, they all get caught. Like, they all get got, or they get caught and then get got. Like, the bad guy wins. Like, that's not like a bad guy
throughout the movie, the bad guy.
And that's the evolution that I look at. Like, the evolution of the characters of Peter and Paul. They come across so sweet, so nice, so polite. And then they just get so dark. It's like an eclipse almost. Like, it just gets darker, just like shades darker, tick by tick by tick. And like, it's one thing where it's just like, hey, can I try this golf club out? And then like, you don't hear the dog anymore. And it's like little things. It's like little subtleties at first. And then it's dramatic stuff. And it gets more dramatic as the night goes on. And it just evolves in, it's like, what are the limits of Peter and Paul? But not just that. It's like how confident, like you mentioned, they leave. They straight dip. Imagine a hostage situation where the guy who's holding you hostage is like, all right, we'll be back. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, we'll be back. We'll take a break, union lunch, whatever. We'll be back. And then they just straight dip, like actually leave. Like legit leave. Like not like hide around the corner. They legit walk away. That's how confident they were in their motive, in their actions and their movements. This is clearly not their first rodeo. these, and you are learning that they're not just rando kids. These are skilled assassins who are torturing you because they can. They don't even get anything. They don't even like rob them. Like the jollies are literally the action of doing this. And you get to see how depraved they are for that over time.
Yeah. The POV. It was mostly Anne, actually. And then it slowly becomes, the mom. And it slowly becomes Paul.
Yeah. Paul
And
is
then
running this shit. And it's clearly Paul who's actually in charge of all this. There's a fourth wall break at the very end. Actually, there's a few of them. There's a few fourth wall breaks.
There's a few of them.
Because Paul is like narrating this to the audience, and it's like you're in on it. It's like you're the third man in the group, right? And I think that's what helps keep you drawn in, is with that those fourth wall breaks.
And I thought it was artfully done. The fourth wall breaks where he kind of, and like the rewinding in the remote scene, and that kind of like coy smile at the end.
Yeah. And it's
like he's like, you guys know what's happening.
Yeah, it's like the remote scene is like, whew, I lost control of this situation for a moment. I got literally physical control back, and I've retaken over this situation. And then again, like you mentioned that coy smile at the end, like as they cut, they go to a neighbor. They go across the lake. They bring the mom with them. They look at the clock, pop her over the edge. And even Peter's like, she still had an hour. It's like, we were going to kill her anyway. It's no big deal. What's the difference between an hour later? And he's like, okay. And then they go to the next neighbor's house. And when they look at you, they break the fourth wall at the end. It is sort of that, you know what's happening now. You get it now. Mm-hmm. Now you know who we are. Now you know what we do. And since the movie's over, there's nothing you can do to stop us. Nobody can stop us. And you know that. And it was just so bold. It's so bold of the killer.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. It's so well done. Which makes it kind of worse.
Yeah. The characterization, give it a star. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, the cast was great. It was shot for shot from the previous movie. Very well done remake.
I didn't know it was a remake for the longest time. I heard about the foreign film, and they're technically both foreign films to an American, but the like Swedish film, or wherever it's, I want to say it's Swedish. If I'm wrong,
Scandinavian in some manner, yeah.
If you know better, then put it in the comments. I should have known better. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was the remake, and then I realized it was 10 years older. I'm like, oh no, guess not. Okay, cool. So what do we do? Like,
so that's a full star for me. Like,
yeah, it's like you can't stop them. The characters are so well developed. They're so well performed. You believe the emotions, all of the emotions that this family goes through, from their happiness, their serenity, the Serenity in particular, they are so comfortable and feeling so safe in this space of theirs. And so many little subtleties are done and reacted to, like when the phone goes in the sink. She's like washing stuff in the like washing dishes, and Peter shows up and knocks her phone in the sink. I think that was what Peter did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
no, Paul.
Paul is those little things to prepare for themselves. So they're like, now you can't call out. Can't call for help.
Right.
Tried. They later tried. Got close. Not enough. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was so well planned, so well performed, so well acted. You just cannot help but appreciate the work that was done. Fosta.
So that's 4 stars for Funny Games.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. And I hope I don't have to watch that movie again.
I'll watch it tonight. Well, I got wrestling tonight. But I'll watch it again later. So.
Yeah.
I got to watch wrestling every night. But I mean, it's crazy, man. So it is so good if you can stomach, if you don't have many triggers, fantastic movie for you. If you're sensitive to just torture
or
harm to children, harm to animals,
harm to eggs.
If you don't like eggs, harm to eggs. If you're vegan, maybe not this one. Maybe you might cheer the eggs being destroyed like that. Like, how dare they? No, it's cool. We love vegans. But yeah, you might want to stick with us on that one. This might be one for you to skip. Like I said, nothing obscene happens, but it's intense. It's still pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we got.
That's what we got. As Moon said before, if you want to ring the bell, or if you hold on, I have a script for this. Thanks for sticking it out to the end. I mostly hang out on Facebook and Bluesky, but if you Google Sako, or Sako to me, or even Cast Void, if you Google that stuff, you'll find all my stuff. And
she's there. She's around.
I'm around. Bluesky is probably the most reliable.
You can find her on Facebook. You can find her on Bluesky. You can Google Sako. You can Google Sako to me. You can even Google Cast Voight, and you'll find all the stuff that she's worked on. She's got many books out there. She's in an anthology or so. You can find all her art in the things. I'm Dewan L. Hearn. You can find me at DewanLHearn.com. I'm typically found on Facebook, Instagram, or Bluesky. Very active there. DL Hearn Writes. You can get a hold of me on my website's contact page. You can email us if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future topics. You can always email us at SakoandTheMoonPodcast@gmail.com. That's how you do it.
Hey.
Like, subscribe, follow, ring the bell, do the things.
Yeah. What or
She's
whatever.
Sako.
You can
on the moon. Do the things.
You can contact us at SakoandTheMoonPodcast@gmail.com.
I said that already.
And we will catch you guys.
She's Sako, the moon. We're out.
Next week. See you guys.